and get started here. Good morning, everyone. My name is Dan Spots on behalf of the Dalles Area Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the Chamber's Community Affairs. Today is Thursday, September 25th, and our guest today is Leslie Naramore, the Executive Director of Mid-Columbia Community Action Council. And we're going to turn it over to Leslie in just a second here, but we'll start off with introductions and updates, organizational updates around the room. So I'm going to start. I think I'll start with Roger. I know he's a certain
Because he's
voice.
not bashful at all. Thank you. Yesterday, by the way, I'm Roger Nichols. I write for newspapers and magazines and the radio, and I've been around a long time. One of the things that we had yesterday was a meeting of the Discovery Center board, and they're preparing for their big gala, which comes up next Saturday night. Got an amazing set of prizes for people for the auction, lots of trips, and my own personal treasure chest that can make you a millionaire. So ask me about that later.
That is a coin collection.
It is, but it also includes a $25 million bill, unfortunately from Zimbabwe in 2008 in a period of hyperinflation, but it's instant millionaire.
Thank you, Roger. Dave Peters.
Good morning, everybody. Dave Peters, Columbia Cascade Housing, Mid-Columbia Housing Authority. Not a huge lot, lots happening. Though we have, I think, 9 projects in the pipeline, over 400 apartments. So things are happening here. We are applying today for down payment assistance in Clickitat County. We're asking for about $1.5 million for down payment, and we are also asking for the majority of our funding for the project in Carson for 14 homes for sale. That'll be in a land sale a community land trust. And so those applications go in by 3 o'clock today. Thanks.
Dave, I think you're seeing some activity on a project on the west side of the Dalles too.
Correct. And I think we're partnering with Leslie, but at least somewhat in that. But anyway, yeah, that one did get its majority. I think I got the final piece of funding. I think I said previously that Oregon did give them 16 million or something, but that was the final piece, I guess. So it is going to move forward. I think construction will start next summer. I've already reached out to my wife to reach out to the district about traffic and kids walking in front of the school and all that, because it's not very far from the school out there. So anyway, yeah, that'll start not pretty soon, but spring, early summer.
The old Westgate Market out by Home
Correct.
Depot.
Yeah, D Hart's. Yep.
All righty. Very good news. Scott McKay.
Good morning, everyone. Scott McKay. I am currently a volunteer for Circles of Care, which connects older adults with volunteers to provide periodic support. We are in the process of looking for someone to replace me, and so we're right now we're on pause. We're not accepting any new members to Circles of Care, but we're continuing to support those that we have over the last several years. So that's about it right now. So thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Misa Olson.
Good morning. I'm Misa Olson, and I work with Vocational Rehabilitation's business team. And currently I'm working with our youth team to do some career readiness expos for youth, because I don't know if people are aware, VR services are currently on a wait list. However, youth who are eligible for our pre-transition services do not have to go on a wait list. They can get immediate services through either our youth team or the school district contracting with our youth team. So we're working on that expo. It'll be in your area probably in February. And so a little bit closer to that time, I'll be looking for panelists to speak to a specific sector, as well as people who are interested in volunteering to help the kids with some mock interviewing. So that is it for me. Thanks.
Misa, thank you. If you'd like to put the date for that, and also for everyone around the room, if you'd like to put your contact information into the chat box so we have that on the recording. Very interesting. Thank you, Misa. Ben W., would you like to introduce yourself? Maybe not on Ben, that's okay. How about Kyle Bray? All right, well, if not, that's all right. Let's go ahead and get started. Leslie, I'm going to turn it over to you. And you have your slide deck. I'm going to make you co-host right now.
Okay, great. Thanks, Dan.
There you go. You should be co-host now.
Okay, let's see if I can successfully share my screen.
Looks like it's coming in now.
Great. Okay, let me.
There we go.
Perfect. Okay. Great. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Leslie Naramore, and I am the Executive Director of Mid-Columbia Community Action Council. And over the last couple of months, I've been going around to every city and county in our service area and doing a presentation to just kind of meet people and give an update on the work that we do. And I know, I think Roger has sat through this a couple times now, Roger. So I do try to change it up a little bit every time to keep it interesting. And please do go ahead. Since I entered presentation mode, I can't see anyone, but if you have any questions, please feel free to jump in and ask me any questions. I'd love for this to be interactive.
Leslie, I'll keep an eye on the chat box and also on the Zoom screen here.
Okay, great, thank you. So Mid-Columbia Community Action Council is the community action agency. We serve all of Hood River, Wasco, and Sherman counties. And that's a picture of staff at the, we've been in the Glorious Center for about a year now. And Mid-Columbia Community Action Council has been serving our community since 1965. Community action is a nationwide program. We have over 1,000 agencies across the US. The entire US is covered by community action. And community action was started by the 1964 Economic Opportunity Act. We've definitely had some ups and downs over the year, but we've mostly enjoyed bipartisan support. In Oregon, we're one of 18 community action agencies. And one of the basic tenets of community action is that the people who are experiencing poverty are the ones who best know how to get themselves out of poverty. And community action is a little bit unique in that we're governed by what's known as a tripartite board. And that means that it's 1/3 elected officials, 1/3 democratically selected low-income representatives, and 1/3 community members. And in Wasco County, our representatives are Commissioner Phil Brady and Lena Lindhorst, who works for the next door. And then we're in the process of adding a new board member, Nate Stice, who's going to be filling that community member position. So we're really excited about that. This is the promise of community action, and this is the umbrella that we all work under. And the promise of community action is that community action changes people's lives, embodies the spirit of hope, improves communities, and makes America a better place to live. And that's something that we take very seriously at MCCAC, and every day that's what we're working towards. This is our mission, along with a whole bunch of community partners. And I know some of our community partners are in the room today. But one of the things that I wanted to highlight around our mission and our staff is that almost all of our staff have lived experience. And to us, that's really important. That brings a lot of value to their work because they have had the experience of living poverty. They know what it's like. And so when they're out in community helping people, they bring that sort of empathy that only comes from having lived experience. This is a continuum that we call this our continuum of care. And this is kind of an illustration of how people enter into our services and what happens. And I did realize at the last presentation that we are missing a piece, and that's that not everyone who comes into our services comes through our emergency shelters. A vast majority of them do, but not all of them. Some people just come straight from being houseless and go right into transitional or permanent housing. But for a lot of people who come to us, they come in through our emergency shelters, and we have a seasonal shelter in Hood River. And then we also have our emergency shelter at the Gloria Center. And from there, they might go into transitional housing, which is the annex. And then from there, the goal is that they go into permanent housing. Our end goal for any of our clients is that we want to have someone go from being houseless into housing. We never want to see someone come in, go to a shelter, and then go back out on the streets. And we work with a lot of private landlords. And a really great thing about our rental assistance programs is that when we put someone into housing with a private landlord, once our assistance ends and they're ready to be on their own, they get to stay in that house because they're holding the lease with the landlord. And that green off to the left there is maintaining their current housing. So we have some eviction prevention programs because we know that it's always going to be cheaper to keep someone in their current housing and then have them lose their housing and then try to get them in housing again. And our utility assistance program also helps with that because oftentimes if someone gets a shut off notice, like for their electricity, the next thing that happens is an eviction notice. So in our utility assistance programs, we can prevent eviction as well. These are our 2024 community impact highlights. One thing I want to talk a little bit more about our utility assistance programs, and probably the most well-known of those assistance programs is what's known as LIHEAP, and that's the Low Income Housing Energy Assistance Program. And we know that we don't have enough funding to serve the entire community that needs that assistance. So we do prioritize seniors and disabled households when we roll that program out every year. And then I also just wanted to highlight that across our region, we do work with over 100 landlords. And if any of you have rental properties available, you know, we are always looking for new landlords. And another highlight is that all of our jobs do pay a living wage, and we have over 30 employees currently. This is the Gloria Center, which we saw earlier. And the Gloria Center is what's known as a navigation center. And so it functions as a one-stop shop. We have 6 partner agencies on site. And when someone comes into the Gloria Center and they need services, we're able to meet all of their needs right there in that center. We don't have to send them somewhere else, which if you've ever had to seek social services, you're aware that it can be really daunting and really challenging, especially if you go one place and then you get sent to the next place and then you get sent to the next place. So that's something that we try to avoid. And when clients walk in the door, most of the time we're able to meet all of those needs right on the spot. And we've been in the Gloria Center for just a little over a year. And prior to the Gloria Center, we were in a house on 4th Street, which worked very well for a number of years, but it was an old house and we certainly outgrew it. And towards the end, there were people working out of closets in the basement, and it just wasn't a very dignified workspace. And the Gloria Center is. Staff are excited to come to work now. They're in nice offices, and it's also a much more dignified space for our clients to come to as well. And all of our programs that we do offer out of the Gloria Center are available throughout all 3 counties. And from here, we're going to move into talking more about specific programs. This is Liz and Zoe, and they are on site at the Hood River Shelter. And the Hood River Shelter is just a seasonal shelter. We operate about 4 months out of the year over the winter to keep people out of the cold. And then when clients are in those shelter services, they're able to have their other needs met as well. So we do bring supportive services on site and then try to get them connected into other services so that when that program ends, once the winter is over, they're hopefully going to be headed into either the next program or headed into housing. We also have an office in Hood River. It's located underneath one of the insurance offices on, I believe that's Court Street. And all of our services that are available through MCCAC are also available out of the Hood River office as well. This is the annex, and the annex offers shelter and transitional housing. It's been open for about 2 years now, and it's really a place of transition. It's a place for people to come in, catch their breath, connect with services, and people who are at the annex are coming directly out of houselessness. And if you've been by the annex lately, you've seen that it's a really beautiful space. There are flowers growing everywhere, there are plants, and all of those were planted and taken care of by clients who live on site. Our clients have a lot of pride in the space there, and it's nice to know that they feel at home and that they are helping to take care of the space. We have a lot of key partners who work with us at the annex. Center for Living has a full-time employee on site who works out of the case management and who works out of the annex and provides some case management there. We also have one community health who brings their mobile medical unit on site. And so people are able to receive health services there as well, which is really nice for them to not have to leave. And then also Columbia Gorge Food Bank does provide some food on site for clients as well. Because it was a former motel, the rooms don't have kitchens. And so we have to provide all of the meals for people. And one of the most, I think, important partnerships at the annex is the partnership that happens between the clients who are coming in and our staff. And at the western end of the building, we have a new mural, and our clients worked with the artists directly on that mural, and they loved that project. There are, on the mural itself, it looks like there are little chalk drawings, and those are all things that the clients did directly on that mural. Sherman County is another county that we cover, but we don't have a physical location there. And so since I've come on board, one of the things that I've been really wanting to do is expand our outreach in Sherman County. And so we have an outreach worker. His name is Jay. He goes out there twice a month now and is on site at the senior center. When we're doing our energy assistance program, we also send staff out there to do intakes. And we also work with the sheriff's department to make sure that we're providing outreach supplies to houseless community members out there as well. This is Jessica, and Jessica works in our SSVF program. SSVF stands for Supportive Services for Veteran Families. And so they provide rental assistance and basic wraparound needs for veterans. They also do some case management. And then we also own the Hamilton, which is 9 apartments, and that is specifically for veterans. And we've been doing a lot of cleanup around the Hamilton lately and just really trying to make that a really nice looking space. About 70% of our staff are certified as community health workers. And being a community health worker means that you have taken specialized training to help people learn how to navigate services. As I mentioned earlier, seeking services can be a full-time job, and it can be a really daunting task. So they also have that value of lived experience, and they're able to walk clients through that process. And I think that there's a couple things that have been really great for us as an agency with having community health workers. The first thing is that it has allowed us to deepen our collaboration with our partners. A lot of our partners also have community health workers, and so they're able to work side by side and have that peer support And then also community health workers take a lot of training to learn how to have really good boundaries and to learn how to take care of themselves. And so they, they're learning how to fill their own cup before they go out into community and try to help other people do that. This is another program and collaboration that we wanted to highlight, and that is the Mid-Columbia Houseless Collaborative. That is about 40 partner agencies who are working together. It's a bi-state collaborative, so we have partners from both Oregon and Washington. We did just put an update out on our strategic plan that's available on the MCCAC website. And we have 4 key goal areas in that collaborative. So that's shelters, services, housing, and advocacy. And we have our 4th annual Housing Stabilization Summit coming up. That's Thursday, November 6th, and that is free for partners to attend. There's a lot of learning opportunities that happen there. And then the night of the Housing Stabilization Summit, we're doing something new, and we're partnering with the Granada Theater, and we're doing a special presentation of a film called No Place to Grow Old, which is about a growing problem that we've seen here locally as well as nationally, which is that we have a lot of seniors who are aging into houselessness. And so this is a difficult film, but it's definitely an important subject to talk about. And that is going to be free. And then there is also going to be a free dinner as well. I believe the Granada is going to provide chili. As part of that Houseless Collaborative, we've started what's called a lived experience work group. And so these are people who have lived experience, and then they're learning how to advocate on behalf of both themselves and others. And this last spring, they did do a trip to Salem, and they got to see the whole process. It was really a cool experience. For many of them, it was the first time that they had been in Salem or interacted with lawmakers. And that's something that we hope that we're able to continue. So this brings us back full circle. We started out talking about community action, and we're going to end talking about community action. And community action, to me, action is the most important piece of that. And for us, that means that we maintain flexibility and we're able to pivot to address community needs as they come up. So some recent examples of that are our work with the Rowena fire survivors. We're up to 23 households who have been rehoused. And that is a really big number for us. We're not usually able to move people through the system that quickly. But I think thanks to this community who really stepped up, we have new landlords that we're working with. We were able to get people housed really quickly. And then also, I'm on the board of the long-term recovery group for the Rowena fire. And then also our case managers are going to be providing disaster case management for the long-term recovery group. So as that work moves ahead, it is, as it's right there in the name, it is long-term, but MCCAC has been a big part of those efforts. And then also at the Gloria Center, we can operationalize when we have severe weather or emergencies. We did open up the shelter after the Rowena fire. The Red Cross had a shelter that was open, and then when they had to close, we opened up so that we could extend the time through the weekend, because I don't remember what was happening, but all of the hotels in the area were booked. So when the Red Cross shelter closed down, there was literally nowhere for people to go. So we ended up opening so that they had a place. And then another part of community action is that we follow our community's lead. So we do a community needs assessment every 3 years. We are mandated to do that. We're about to embark on that in the spring of next year. And then also we are mandated to do strategic planning every 5 years. And we just completed our most recent strategic plan that was just sent out into community. And I'll drop a link for that when I'm done with the presentation. And then as part of both the community needs assessment and the strategic planning, we take community feedback very seriously and we integrate that at every level in the agency because we know that, again, in community action, people who are experiencing poverty are the ones who know how to get themselves out of it. And then also we understand and value that our community partners have a lot of really good feedback for us as well. Are there any questions for me?
Leslie, if I may, I'll start off. I've got a few that I've written down here. I'll turn it over to the group, but just quickly, you'd mentioned the contract on the Rowena recovery. Has that come through now? Is that have we got the state bureaucracy taken care of there?
Well, that's a really loaded question.
I know.
So the state is still working through their processes, and it does take quite a while. But we do have a contract through MCCAC. MCCAC is who is housing the long-term recovery group, and they just gave us a contract so that we can now have funding for the work that we've been doing this whole time. And we're going to be able to hire another disaster case manager. So we'll have a total of 4 people who are doing those disaster case management. And if I can talk about that a little bit more, because I know out in the community, there has been a lot of misinformation that's been flying around, particularly around the fundraisers that have happened. And so the fundraisers that have happened, United Way is currently holding that money. It has not been spent yet. And there's around $350,000. So it's not nearly as much as people think that it is. And the plan for that money is that it's going to go out through the Unmet Needs Roundtable. And the Unmet Needs Roundtable will have the disaster case managers will be working directly with the people who are affected. They will gather that information. They will find what their needs are. And then the case manager will be the one to present to the Unmet Needs Roundtable so that people aren't having to relive their trauma, keep telling their story. And then also that story is told anonymously. And then whatever that need is, if the Unmet Needs Roundtable determines that they can meet it, they would meet that specific need by either paying for the thing or paying the vendor. The money isn't going to go out directly to people who were affected. We did have someone ask, well, why can't you just write checks? And the reality is there just isn't enough funding. And if every person that was affected by the fire, we just wrote them a check, it would end up being less than $1,000 a person. So we're trying to do this in a more equitable way so that the people who have much higher needs are actually going to be able to get those needs met.
Thank you for elaborating. I did want to raise that issue. It is a topic of discussion out there. I know
Yeah.
United Way has been taking some heat, and it is.
They have been.
But it's not an issue on their part. We've been awaiting that.
Yeah, I
contract.
think yeah, it's not a community issue, it's a communications issue. And I certainly understand that the people who have been affected by the fire, it feels like this has gone on forever, right? Like a lot of them aren't seeing the help that they feel that they need. And so I feel like as the long-term recovery group, we just need to work on our communication and make sure that we're being more communicative with our community who've been affected.
Yeah. Thank you, Leslie. Other questions for Leslie around the table?
Maybe Leslie, this more of a specific example, which you may not be able to answer.
Sure.
One of our members of Circles of Care, I visit every Sunday, and just for a couple of hours, just to visit him. He lives in Rowena, and the house that he, I think he gets it through the housing authority as far as rent, pays for it, but he has special accommodations because of his weight. He's waiting for, he's hoping to get a surgery within the next year. But because of special accommodations, his bathroom is very large, and they had to make those accommodations and all that. But they've been fantastic. They put in a handicap accessible porta potty. the owner just put in a large water tank, so he has water now. But I believe he has received notice that by the end of the year he has to leave because I believe the landlord is going to be tearing down his the trailer that he lives in.
Mm.
So I'm, he may know more, but I'm not exactly sure. But what would be steps for him to try to find housing specifically for his situation because of
Yeah,
his social accommodations?
sure. Yeah. So I believe I know who you're talking about, and our team has connected. And so that is a medical accommodation. So we just have to find someone who is willing to work with us. And then that should be covered, to get a new place up to the standard that he needs. But we just have to find the right person who will work with us.
Okay, good. I'm glad to know that he is connected. So
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, yeah. And another quick thing that I wanted to highlight, there is a mobile home park out there, and there are people who are still living there, and a lot of them had housing vouchers. And because of the fire, the water got cut out, which means that they were no longer considered habitable. So the housing authority couldn't continue to pay those vouchers. Thankfully, the health district stepped in and was able to go out there and get some water tanks installed so that they now have running water again. So now the housing authority is able to resume payment, and those people are able to stay in their homes, which that was a really big project. And I just wanted to acknowledge the work of both the housing authority and the health department who were able to make that happen.
Okay, Leslie, thank you, because now I know who to thank for that, for the water tank. Yeah.
Yeah, yep, absolutely.
Good information. Other questions for Leslie around the table?
Okay. Okay, Leslie.
Go ahead.
Amazing things that I had been on the Mid-Columbia Housing, excuse me, anyway, on the MCCAC,
You've
or
been
as we
on
used
all
to
the
call,
boards.
Yeah,
yeah, as we used to
good.
call the CAP back in the day. And during COVID, there was a tremendous amount of funding that became available.
Yeah.
And with the leadership of the previous director, a lot of tremendous things have been accomplished.
Mhm.
Now, my concern always is the future funding, and in order to maintain all the great things that have been accomplished in the last couple of years, what are the opportunities? Do you see opportunities and threats that on the horizon with particularly with funding, that type of thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's my concern as well. You're right. The agency did go through a tremendous amount of growth. And so since I've come on board, I started as interim back in February and then was appointed in August. And I've just really been trying to focus on stability because, when Kenny got there, there were about 9 employees. They were in the 4th Street house. And then he just made some amazing, amazing changes. But now I want to make sure that we can maintain all of those changes. So I've been really focused on stability. And as far as funding goes, COVID did bring in a ton of funding, which was great. But that funding has gone away. And so I've been, right now things look okay. We haven't been faced with any huge cuts yet, but we know that we're just at the beginning of the cuts that are going to be coming. And so I don't know what's going to happen, but I do know that I'm just focused on stabilizing right now. And I think, with my current board, we've been having a lot of conversations around what does it look like if funding goes away. And one of the things that we've just acknowledged is that we can't fundraise our way out of this. Like, sure, we want to encourage giving, we do depend on our community, but there's no way that our community will be able to fill the gap of what we think is coming. And so we're just really trying to focus on what we're doing right now, not expanding right now, so that we can maintain the services that we provide and, just be ready, be nimble, be flexible. Um, just, just keep doing what we're doing.
If I may follow up on something very similar to that, is in that expansion from 9 to 30, and I think I heard you say you're going to be at the 31st here shortly.
Yep.
On those expansions, were they time-limited grants with 3-year, 5-year, et cetera? Are they going to run out soon, or is it kind of ongoing?
The grants that we currently have are ongoing. And, I do have a person, Sarah Kellums, who is specifically focused on grants. And so, she is constantly seeking out new funding sources, and she has been really good at that. Probably our largest grant that kind of keeps operations going is through Oregon State, through Oregon Housing and Community Services, and that's for our shelter programs. So one of the things that I didn't really highlight in my presentation is that when the Gloria Center was built and the pallet shelters were moved there, that was before Project Turnkey funding was available. And so once that Project Turnkey funding became available, there was a pivot, and we did do the annex and created that from the old Oregon Motor Motel. And when the annex came online, that was a 259% increase in available shelter beds. But then because we were now supporting the annex, we don't have the funding to continue to support the Gloria Center pallet shelter full time, which is why that moved to being just emergency only. My goal at some point, if things go well, is to bring that back online full time, but it's all very dependent on funding.
Is there any way, when you do your funding, you can get people like ourselves to write letters of support? We'd be happy to do so.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Roger.
Mm-hmm.
Leslie, on that question, the pallet shelters, is the effort through the college still underway to build replacement structures?
Yes. Yeah. So we have a HUD grant. I mean, that's going to be, I think we have a 4-year time frame to make that happen. But we have a HUD grant to convert the pallet shelters to tiny houses. And then that will most likely become another transitional housing unit that we're not sure yet if we will run that as one of our programs or if we're going to ask a community partner to step in and run that. We've been throwing around a lot of ideas, but yes, that is still happening. The community college this fall is building the first of the tiny homes that are to come.
Through the construction trades program there at the college. I'm glad that's still on board. Good, good. Are there questions for Leslie? If not, Leslie, I'll ask you to go off topic a little bit, but
Sure.
another topic that I know you're familiar with, for the benefit of people who may be wondering, well, what about Washington State, Klickitat County, Skamania County? You have some experience with WAGAP, I believe.
I do, yeah. So prior to MCCAC, I was the executive director of Washington Gorge Action Programs for almost 8 years. I started at that agency back in 2013. And yeah, they cover all of Klickitat and Skamania counties. They are also a community action agency, so very similar work, just each community action agency has a little bit of a different focus. WAGAP in and of itself is more of a one-stop shop than MCCAC is. MCCAC has a big focus on housing, whereas WAGAP, being in Klickitat and Skamania counties with less resources, they function as kind of a one-stop shop there. And I will say, they're in the same boat as the rest of us with, funding, not knowing what's happening and just doing the best that you can on your day to day and trying to think long term. But, it's difficult when every day is a little bit different and there's a new disaster every day.
Are there any initiatives, any outreach those around the table or other community members could be taking now to bring awareness and to note the importance of what you're doing through MCCAC?
Sure. I
outreach?
think,
Go ahead.
yeah, definitely, I think the number one thing is being aware of the services, right? So you can share that in community, either when you meet people who might need them or you meet people who could be supporters. I think advocacy is a really big piece of that. Sharing with your legislators what's happening, what you're seeing in real time, why these programs are so important and need to continue to be funded.
Good.
Yeah. And Leslie, is there a fundraiser coming up sometime or
Yes, November 9th at the Ruins is our annual, it's called Housing Heroes, and it's a dinner at the Ruins, and that is our annual fundraiser.
And Leslie, if you'd like to, before we wrap up here, if you'd like to put some information.
Sure,
in the
yeah, I
chat.
was gonna drop the strategic plan in the chat, and then I'll see if I can find that Housing Heroes flyer as well.
The Ruins location, I can find that down in Hood River, I know.
Yeah,
Near the railroad.
near the railroad, yeah.
Railroad station, right. Other questions for Leslie? If not, Leslie, very thorough presentation.
Thank you. I thank you all for having me. I really appreciate it. I feel like I do know a lot of you because of my previous work, but it's been really fun to get to know people in a new context. And it's also been really fun to learn kind of the differences between Oregon and Washington and how services work. So I've been learning a lot.
Right. I guess one other question I would have, we talked about funding, and Scott, thank you for raising it. That was pretty close to the top of my list, but what's coming down the pipeline. Leslie, do you have any idea when you might know, are there any critical timelines, dates coming up? It sounds like the grants are ongoing. Have you had any word as to when you might know more about the future?
Not so far. I mean, things change on the daily. So, just paying attention, but depending on what happens with Medicaid and, various like SNAP benefits, things like that, even though those aren't our programs, if those go away, if those safety nets go away, people are going to be seeking our services, so we're just really trying to be prepared for more people needing our services. We know that's going to happen, but I don't have, specific timelines on if funding's going to run out or what's going to get cut. That's all really a moving target right now.
We're hearing news about a federal shutdown, of course, and that's the fiscal cycle ends next?
The 30th, yeah. Yeah, that's another scary piece of it.
Would that have any immediate impact on you, or are you able to carry through if that does happen?
It wouldn't be immediate. We could carry through for a little while. It just depends on how long it lasts.
Okay. All right. Leslie, there are no other questions. We're early here, but I think you answered a lot of questions there, and it's great information. And you put the link to the event in the chat box there. I appreciate that. I think we could probably wrap up unless there's anything that people would like to know. I don't mind giving people 15 minutes of their day back. We're all busy, but I appreciate the time. Leslie, any closing comments?
Just thank you all. Thanks for listening, and thanks for the great questions. It was really great to be here with you.
Thank you for the time. Everyone, thank you for joining us. I'll be out a couple of weeks over the next 2 weeks, but Lisa's going to be facilitating. She'll be back to facilitating during my absence. So thank you, everyone, for joining, and enjoy the rest of your week. Bye now.
Bye.